Got to stop living in the past, man. And, sometimes you just got to stop living in nostalgia, bro. Now, don't get me wrong. I say this, and sometimes I definitely be living in nostalgia. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I be playing a certain video game. It's like a throwback. Just for example, like Far Cry, or I be playing a classic GTA, or I'm playing a skate game, or, I'm playing an old Call of Duty, or, something like that, or a Tony Hawk game, just any of those games. And sometimes I just be like, damn, like, these were the good old days, man. I just want to live these days again. But just like life moves on, you got to move on too, bro. Because everything that happened has already happened, bro. The days where the stress-free, not worrying about, a bill that you got to pay, not worrying about where your next meal going to come from, not worrying about, things that is just like simple, like school assignments, or going outside, hanging out with your friends in the backyard, football, or, playing basketball, setting up the goal in the street and playing basketball in the street. As the cars go by, you stop for a second, or you got a basketball goal that's up the hill, and then the ball goes and hits the edge of the back. It hits the edge of the basketball goal, and now that ball rolling down the hill, and everybody playing rock, paper, scissors for who's going to get it. Those days are over, man. And it's like, if you live in those days, bro, if you keep trying to live in those days, bro, harboring over the past, you won't have time to really examine what your future will be like. Or, you won't have time to examine what's in front of you. Because, yeah, I'm going to be honest. Some people probably just don't want to live in the present, Some people don't like what's going on in the present. Some people don't want to really acknowledge the thing that's going on in front of them because it's probably hurting them. It's probably dealing them great mental damage. They probably just don't even want to cope with that. And that's when it resorts to like drugs and alcohol and, things that take your mind off those stuff to put you in a different state. So it feels like you feeling free and stuff like that. You can't really do that, bro. Because I was watching a show, a show called The 100, Somebody put me on. I ain't gonna say no names, but shout out to her. And, it was a simple episode. Well, it was this character. His name is Jasper. And, there was an episode where, his girl passed away. And, he's living in the past. He's drinking. He's being an alcoholic. He's trying to, like, cope with the damage that he's been dealt with. He's coping with the cards that he's dealt with. And, you can't really live like that, bro. Because just like how he has lost somebody, everybody else in that show has lost somebody. Somebody in that show has lost somebody due to somebody getting shot. Or, an assassin snuck up on them and took them out. Or, just things like that. Like, everybody has things we're going through. And living in the past is one of those things that's going to hold you back from progression. And we all need to progress in life. There is no one in this world that is just okay with just being where they at. Obviously, there's people that's probably made it by now. Some people are probably millionaires at 20, 21. And, salute to them, man. I'm trying to get like them. But for the majority, we ain't even where we want to be yet. Now, what's in front of us, sometimes we ask for what's in front of us, but we're really not where we're wanting to be. We're not where we're needed at the, when we need it. Because a lot of us, we probably want money. A lot of us, we probably want fame. We probably want materialistic things, and we ain't there yet. And me personally, I feel like materialistic things really don't mean nothing. But, dog, we got to stop living in the past, bro. Because the past is one thing that we should be learning from, not something we should be always grieving about and using alcohol as a way to cope with the things that have happened in our life. Because the things that are happening in our life, yeah, that happened, but that's not going to be the only thing, man. There's going to be so many other things that happen in our life. And if the bad things continue to happen, are we just going to continue to keep using drugs and alcohol to cope with our demons? And then eventually we just going to fall out and our liver's going to fuck up and, we going to have a beer belly then and we can't do what we want to do. Now we get lazy. Now we start getting unmotivated. And next thing you know, it's about a couple years later down the line and you realize your life was being wasted drinking off of shit that, you can't control. That's just something we just got to look at, bro. And, when it comes to nostalgia, like, for example, like, playing video games. I want to get into that specifically because I'm going to be honest. As a 21-year-old man, sometimes I want to indulge in a little bit of video games. As you can see, my content recently has been playing classic games because that is one of the things that made me happy as a kid, that kept me out of trouble, that kind of defined me to grow this passion to become a YouTuber. And ultimately, as a 21-year-old man, I finally, grown out of my shell to do different things and not worry about the judgment. But, sometimes I harbor on the nostalgia as well, man. Sometimes when I play a GTA, a old classic GTA, shit, GTA 5 is a classic now. Shit, it's been what, 12 years? Shit, that shit's a classic now, too. I play these games and I look back and I be thinking like, damn, life was really great, yo. Like, there were so many great things that was going on in my life. I was just so happy. I was so stress-free. All I had to worry about was waking up and going to school. Hell, even when quarantine happened, I used to just open my laptop, go right back to sleep. And then once the class session was over, log out the class and then go to the other class, go right back to sleep. Or I just open the laptop and play some video games. Those are the things I did. And I look back and I be like, damn, bro, life was really good. Now, granted, I didn't like quarantine that much simply because I felt like a part of, my social life was being taken away from me. And I didn't get to spend my days of, high school as a senior in person, which was probably the best because I definitely was able to cheat the fuck out of them exams and the fuck out of them tests and assignments. And a lot of the teachers I had, they wasn't so hard on me. They was really just like, hey, if you do the work, you know what I'm saying, you're just going to get the credit. You're going to pass this class. It's that simple. And, I'm very grateful for that moment, but not for the COVID shit because honestly, that was like, it was almost like we was just sitting inside of a box all day. I'm not calling my parents' house a box, but I'm saying, I'm trying to give you a reference. Like, that's what it was. And, I didn't want to do that. At the time I was growing motivation to work out. I wanted to go outside and, play basketball, hang out with my friends. But people were just showing fear of catching COVID where everybody was just like, man, nah, stay in the house, bro. We don't want you catching COVID. And I'm like, dude, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. At that moment, I was definitely like, man, I just want to be a kid, bro. I still want to be a teenager, bro. Like, I still want to be able to have fun while I can. And I can't let COVID stop me from doing that. I can't let COVID from preventing me to be my better self. And then I started watching the Soul Illuminati videos, the spiritual soul. That's when he became spiritual. I watched those videos and, a lot of his videos definitely made sense. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, oh, yeah, he's just a weird dude. Yeah, he was just talking and rambling. No, he was actually spitting some real shit. And we can't let something like that fear us from being great. We can't let a COVID virus, which no doubt in my mind, is still a crazy thing that happened. It was still lethal. It was still dangerous. But in my head, me being a teenager and wanting to just live, I was saying in my mind, I can't let that stop me from being great. So I was, regardless of, COVID, I was going outside, playing basketball, working out, and, just trying to better myself. But no doubt, when I stopped working out that day, I was on the game all day. I'm talking about GTA 5. I was out there doing all types of heists. At the time, we had hella money glitches. You had the casino heist glitch. I mean, not casino heist, the casino chips glitch. Then you had the Bogdan, which could never be patched. And then you got, you just got so many games. Then it was Siege. Then it was Fortnite. And I'm looking back and I'm like, damn, bro, I was really having the time of my life, bro. I was so stress-free. But then as the days go, when I'm 21 now, and I'm in college, I got to worry about what my future's going to be. I got to figure out if I'm going to get a job after I graduate. I got to find connections to where I can get a certified job and, there's a placeholder for me. Or when I leave this school for the summer, I got to figure out a job to go to so I can be able to pay off this school that I desperately don't like because this school is a whack piece of shit as establishment. Those things tend to change. Me playing the game so much really tends to not be a thing anymore. I don't really put hours into a game no more. Like the background you see, that's literally 30 minutes to an hour of a stream that I do. And that Twitch stream is just me in there. But I use the Twitch stream and I, download the VOD so I can have some behind the scenes while I talk to you guys. I don't really put my time into video games like that no more. And yeah, it was the setting foundation for who I was, and it kept me out of the streets, and it kept me, being, a kid. That's just ain't it no more. Priorities change. I gotta worry about how I'm gonna spread this $50 that I have in my bank account, because, the job I got is not really offering that many shifts. And, my parents be like, get 2 jobs and 3 jobs, but it's like, that's just added on stress that I just don't want in my life. And like I said in the previous video of me talking about I'm a stressed out 21-year-old, I don't want to have that much stress on my mind. Like, yeah, life is going to be, crazy and wicked and shit like that, but I still want to be able to, feel like I'm human. I don't want to feel like I got to wake up one day and put minoxidil on the corner of my hairs because my shit is thinning. I don't want to wake up and realize that, I'm bald and I got to make sure that, I got to take these pills and all that shit to keep my hair intact, or I just go bald and shave my shit. I can't grow a beard. All I got is a mustache and a goatee. Like, I can't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to be human. In this world nowadays, it don't really want you to be human no more. Like I said in the previous video, everything's going up. People really starting to change. The higher ups, they don't want to see us win. Everything in life is set up for us to fail. These corporations, these businesses that we be, working for, and some people even be dying hard for, like, these things are really like holding us back for real. And the last thing I want is a corporation that don't give a fuck about me to hold me back from being great. Like, fuck that, man. I can't live life like that. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, I'll make some money for y'all. Well, I'll make some money from y'all, and I'll work a certain amount of months or probably a year with y'all, but I'm not finna be that worker that's just gonna be, so loyal where I'm just like stamped and that's just who I am. That's my identity. No. And to not be that person, I gotta stop living in the past. I gotta start accepting that the past is the past. That thing is over. That life is over. There's no going back. Yeah, we look back and we be like, yeah, we took those days for granted, but we didn't. We did all that we could as kids to be kids, There was, how was we supposed to know that COVID was supposed to happen? How are we supposed to know that once we hit 18, that life was going to be different? Yeah, the teachers told us, once you graduate out of here, it's going to be different. It's going to be, you're not going to be doing the same routine. But they didn't tell us that we're going to have to learn how to pay bills. We're going to have to learn how to get our credit right. We got to learn how to, we got to learn how to make connections. We got to learn how to do so many different things that's not just picking up a pencil and worrying about an algebra assignment or worrying about a chemistry lab in high school. Like, we got to worry about actual real shit. Like, we got to worry about how to budget. We got to worry about what we're going to do for the next couple of days, weeks, months, years that will help us be great. And, unfortunately, school does not teach that. School does not teach the necessities of life. It just teaches you skills that I guess are going to be meaningful. Like, I'm going to be real. Everything that I've been learning in high school, I'm going to be honest, that shit did not apply to the real life. That shit did not apply to anything. Radical equations, Pythagorean theorems, rational equations. We got so much shit. That shit does not help me at all. Like, I have not used any of that shit at all in my life. And it's for the better. I don't need to be learning that shit. So, dog, I'm letting you know right now, bro, I get it. You want to live in the past, all that shit, bro, I get it, bro. It was good days, bro. I get it, bro. Trust me, bro. I'm not perfect. I be thinking the same way too, bro. Trust me, bro. But, dog, you got to move on, bro. The life that was in the past, bro, is over. Excuse me. Those days are done, bro. The only thing you really have now is memories. And, your parents probably got that book of photographs that got you when you was a kid, got you in moments where you didn't even know it happened. You probably have pictures of yourself and with a parent or a guardian that you don't even know who they were. We always have those, people that we that our parents know, but we don't know, and we start asking, who is this? Like, how does she know me? Or how does he know me? But those days are over, man. Those days, yeah, we can cherish them, but we can't live in them because it's going to hold us back. We don't want to be those people that we get older and we start talking about yeah, bro, remember in high school, dog? Yeah, I was #1 in high school, bro. Yeah, I had all the whole, nigga, we don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't give a fuck about that shit, dude. That shit is over. Like, high school was literally 4 years ago, in my case. Probably longer for y'all or shorter for y'all. But high school was 4 years ago. Who gives a fuck? Like, yeah, you were the cool kid. Yeah, you had all the shoes, clothes, and hoes and shit like that. But who gives a fuck, bro? It's time to start making money. It's time to start bettering ourselves. It's time to start focusing on shit that matter outside of materialistic things. And, you know, you don't want to be that person. You want to be that person that people be like, yeah, bro, he was cool in high school, but dog, outside of high school, bro, he has helped me so much, bro. I've learned so much stuff from him, bro. You know, he's a great friend. You know, he's always around when I'm down and out. He doesn't want me to be bad. He wants me to do better. He helped me put down the alcohol. He helped me put down the weed. He stopped me from KIing myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to be that person that makes an impact, bro. You want to be that person that changed the world. Not just somebody that just is a history lesson. And a useless history lesson at that. You know what I'm saying? So start living in the present, bro. There will always be time to look back and, you know, cherish the good old days, but those days should not be so prioritized, and you shouldn't be having to define your days should not be defined by something you did in high school, because the shit in high school does not matter, bro. Unless if it's on a wall in the high school, a big ass wall, or you got a statue of yourself in the high school, it doesn't matter, bro. But that's all I have to say for y'all, man. Stop living in the past. Trust me, bro. I get it. The past is so beautiful. The past was something you just can't let go. But, dog, you gotta let go, bro. The present is waiting for you. Your future is waiting on you, bro. You got so much potential, and you can't let that potential be wasted off of something that happened 4 or 5 years ago, bro. So I appreciate all the love in the recent videos. This has probably been one of my best months on YouTube so far because I've actually been consistent, and consistency is key, bro. I appreciate all the comments in the previous video about me, you know, saying this some real shit. And trust me, dog, I'm posting any and everything, bro. I just posted this, just a little skate video because, you know, I just wanted to. But like I say in all my videos, bro, if you want to do anything, bro, just do it, bro. It doesn't matter the views, the likes, the comments. If you don't get anything out of it, bro, if you're not making no money, bro, just do it. Because it defines you as a person. It helps you create this storyline that you built yourself from the bottom. And you're going to love it, bro. Trust me. And don't worry about the judgment either, bro. But if you're new, like, share, subscribe. Share this with your friends, your family, your cousins, a relative, or I said a relative, a next door neighbor, anybody that needs to hear this. I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. I love y'all. Peace. Damn, voice crack. Shit. Peace.